And welcome back to The Fight. I'm Terry McFadden. Joining us now from his home in Connecticut is legendary Notre Dame quarterback, national champion, and Super Bowl champion Terry Hanratty. And Terry recently recovered from a harrowing battle against COVID-19. Terry, welcome to The Fight.
Well, thank you. Nice to be here.
Let's start with this. What symptoms were you dealing with that led you to reach out to your doctor? Did you think you had the virus, and then what happened?
Well, I wasn't quite sure. What happened was, it started about a week or so before that. And what happened, I went to get a B12 shot, and I get one about every 3 weeks. So it's not a big deal. And that evening, I started feeling a little down, and I figured maybe it was some kind of reaction to that shot. But, I never had one in the past. I've been getting these shots for about 5 years. So the next day I started feeling worse, and I told my doctor, and she knew my background, obviously, that, 72 years old, a former smoker. And she said she wanted me to go get my test for the corona. And that's not a pleasant thing to go through, believe me. And so then she also gave me a prescription to the medicine. She said, once you take your test, you go and start your medication. And if your test is negative, you'll stop. If it's positive, then you keep going. So obviously it came back positive. So I tried to do it at home, but it just didn't work. The fever was just horrible. And I called my doctor, and it happened on a Monday morning. And she said, come down to my office, but stay in my parking lot. And I still had my pajamas on. So I went down to her office, and, she took my temperature. It was 103. And my oxygen level had gone from 95 or 96 down to 85. And she called the ambulance right there and said, you're going to the hospital. And so it was a little tense at the moment. And I, went to the hospital. Then, they start treating me. And I went to Norwalk Hospital here in Norwalk, Connecticut. And they were just, you can't say enough about the health people, the doctors on down there, just marvelous individuals. They're caring. And, you put your faith in them, and they really come through.
You obviously were quite sick here. Can you describe what the experience was like with this disease and during your stay at the hospital, how that was?
Well, as like I said, the staff at the hospital was spectacular, but probably the biggest thing was the fever. You just could not. They had 4 blankets on me, and I was laying in bed just shivering. So, it wasn't until the fever broke did you start feeling a little better. But that took about 3 days. But luckily, I was on the medicine, and I thank my doctor because she got me, on the medicine right away. So, we didn't let it last too long. So, so I think that the combination of that and plus going into the hospital and getting my oxygen regulated, I think that was a big factor.
So the turning point was when they got you on the medication, right?
That started me on it. I think the key to that was getting on it early. Then I went to the hospital. Then the fever, that was the biggest thing. I mean, just laying in that hospital bed, and you are quarantined. I mean, you can't, even if I was able to walk, I couldn't have walked out of my room because you were quarantined. You had to stay in your room. The only people allowed in your room were your doctor and your nurse that was on duty. So it was a lonely area, but it was an area where you had to, you wanted to be there because you did not want to affect anybody else.
Yeah, and I understand that you were away from your family for nearly a week, 6 days in the hospital. What was that like? And were they able to come and get you when you were released?
Well, you sort of say you were happy you're away from your family because you didn't want to infect anybody. And, you wanted to keep this, if it's going to stay within one person, it's better to do it this way. But, they couldn't come and get me because they brought me home in an ambulance, and I had lost like 16 pounds, which is a great diet, but I don't recommend it to anybody. And so they had to bring me in, from my first level floor, hallway here to the bedroom areas, 14 steps. And I didn't have the strength. I lost 16 pounds, and I've been laying down in the hospital with the fever for, almost a week. And so they had to carry me up the steps to the room where they had the oxygen set up. So I was in quarantine in my house for, a week.
And Terry, obviously everybody is happy for you and your family that you were able to beat this. What would you like to share with your Notre Dame family about this experience?
Well, it's a harrowing experience. It's something you don't want to go through, that's for sure. And the way to stay away from it is really to be diligent. This thing is not, we're getting nice weather now. People are going to want to get outside, want to go to the beaches, want to have their parties, want to go to the sporting events. You really have to be stay away and stick with this thing, because we have this could come back. They're talking about it, every day now on television. You really have to stay diligent about this and keep your distance, wear your mask, wear your gloves, and you just have to, because this thing is not going away anytime soon until we get a vaccine, which I don't predict, and I don't think anybody predicts it's going to be much before January. So we really have to be careful.
All right, Terry, glad you are feeling better. And I just want to say, as a 5-year-old growing up in South Bend, the quarterback was Terry Hanratty. And it's just a thrill for me and one of the highlights of my career to be able to interview you, because you were my hero growing up. And I'm so glad you're doing well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.